Hello, everyone. Maryann here, revealing light, tarot, astrology, and spirituality. Wherever you are in the world when you're watching, a huge, huge shout out to you. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for your comments and your support of my channel. Generally, it is very much appreciated. All right, let's jump straight into it. I promised I'd look at the Democratic Party's National Convention. I did the same thing for the GOP for their convention, and now we're looking at the DNC Convention. I want to look, first of all, we'll look at it via tarot. Will it be a success? Will that momentum that the Harris-Walsh ticket has generated, will that be continuing? What are the challenges? You also know that there are protests planned for the DNC convention for those protesting what is happening in Gaza. I think upwards, of about 20,000 protesters are expected. I don't think they're near the convention. I think that's been roped off. However, there will be those protests there in Chicago, Illinois, which is where the DNC are holding their convention. Coincidentally, it is a full moon in Aquarius, and so it's actually a blue moon. It's almost like they had an astrologer picking the date for them. There's also Mercury retrograde in the package as well. So I'm going to look at it first via the tarot, and then we're going to take a look at the chart and what it may mean. What are the general themes that are coming forward? I do want to look at the Middle East again. President Biden is quite confident. He says that they have a shot in getting a ceasefire deal. For those that haven't been keeping up with that, Iran has said we will not answer back or retaliate for the assassination of the Hamas leader on Iranian soil. We will not answer that back while ever ceasefire talks are undergoing. And so there's a lot on the table. The US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is over in Israel, or en route to Israel now, to hold talks with the Israeli PM Netanyahu, who has been one of the sticking points for a hostage deal and ceasefire so far. Want to look at that. The last reading I did on it indicated success, and it actually quite surprised me because every time I read on ceasefire, hostage deal, hostages home, I get quite negative cards, and this time I got positive cards. Let's take a look. Absolutely stunning what is happening in Russia as Ukraine troops have taken quite a lot of territory in the Kursk region of Russia. Putin, of course, has been caught a little bit flat-footed, as we saw when the warlord, one of his own Wagner leader, also marched almost on Moscow. So it's like he's slow, or there's a delayed reaction. But then when he comes back, when he's had time to think about his punishment and how he's going to mete that out, then we see him hitting back hard. I do want to say there are calls now for Putin to go. Russia's tired of this invasion of Ukraine and what it's led to. The economy is slow. And we'll see, will this invasion of Ukraine's into Russian territory, or taking of Russian territory, Vladimir Zelensky has come out today and said, well, we wanted a buffer because we've had Russia come over the border and almost to Kharkiv, and we wanted that border there, that buffer zone there. We'll see if what this means for Putin, because I know that you and I, we'd be heaving a sigh of relief when he eventually does go. Is this the time that we've all seen, that I've seen, or is it more of the same and ongoing? Okay, let's get started on the DNC convention. Huge momentum. Harris-Walsh are ahead in most polls that I look at, and even the more conservative polls, they're ahead. I think it's 49 to 45 in the Washington Post poll, New York Times poll. it puts them ahead in swing states. There's no matter which polls you're looking at, they're trending upward. And of course, we've seen as a result concurrently Trump trending downward, spiraling downward, and unraveling, and rapid calls, strong calls from within the MAGA base itself, including from his own son, Don Jr., to stop the name calling and talk about policy, because that has fallen on deaf ears. Okay, so Trump's still name calling, and I just can't listen to him anymore. Anyway, is this, as Chuck Todd said, the MSNBC, I think he's a former host, said this is like Apprentice season 15. Let's see. But anyway, to the moment at hand, let's look at the Democratic National Convention. Okay. Never ceases to amaze me how accurate these cards are for me as the reader. And I just see that patchwork of spirituality in everything that we're doing at this time. Everything that is going on in the world. But I'll get to that more when I get to the astrology section. Let's have a look at the Democratic. Something wants to come out. Well, we'll put that back in. Too many cards. Someone asked me why I put them back in for all sorts of reasons, but mainly there could be too many cards, but it just doesn't feel right. They slip out and I feel I have to keep shuffling. It's all in the channel between me and spirit. Okay. Democratic National Convention. And it's the same sort of thing that tells me when to stop shuffling. It's that same intuitive thing. Okay, Democratic National Convention. Show me. What can we expect? Will it be a success? Democratic National Convention held in Chicago, Illinois, August 19th. Will it be a success? All right, we get the Hierophant card, and that I was just talking about spirit. It is the connection between spirit and earth. It's an earth to God, if you want a universe connection. The Hierophant is here. More mundane interpretation can be courts, and high courts can be government. And then we get the Nine of Swords. Okay, that's interesting. So there's an anxiety there, a high level of anxiety about what is going on. I think with government, in politics. It's like people want change, but this is also the Supreme Court. So I'm picking up that fear, if you like, that when all is said, it doesn't matter what happens in the election, the Supreme Court might sway it, as they did other things, the immunity decision, toward Trump's favor. But anyway, signifier cards are there for a reason. Let's see what else we've got. Now, there we have the Queen of Wands, and now we're picking up on some of what is going on with the astrology. The Queen of Wands, of course, is my card for Kamala Harris and for women in general. And this is somebody that's highly motivated, highly driven. This is somebody that steps forward boldly, has a lot of charisma, and a lot of magnetism, and is attracting support. Again, you'll see the chart in a minute. The Seven of Cups is in the past. Now, this is about choices. What choices has she made? So far, the Democratic Party has made choices which have paid off. But this can also be illusion and delusion. And that's the big question on everyone's lips. Can this momentum be sustained? Well, it is down to the choices that are made right now. And because we asked about the convention, it is about how they follow through with what they've so far manifested. And when they're on that stage, when the media is looking at them. And so hence we have this level of anxiety there as well. Now, the Page of Wands crowning the reading, it's about youth. It's about her appeal. There's been hundreds of thousands of new voters, mostly youth, registering for this upcoming election. This is a momentum there where people are so fired up, they're ready to roll their sleeves up and get to work. And she is motivating them to do so. How is it likely to go? Now, the Emperor card is in the near future. The Emperor card can be control, can be the presidency. And I am drawn here to, is it a hawk? Hawk or an eagle? The bird there. Um, freedom. Freedom. And so what does a good president do but uplift the people? The Emperor card in its positive orientation brings together the four kings, the wisdom of the four kings. This is wisdom. And of course, the Emperor card, when it's negatively posited, brings together the iron grip of control. And we look toward things like Project 25, the banning of books, the interference between the government and the citizen. It's not about freedom, is it? So this is what we're looking at, liberation and freedom in the near future. Who is going to bring that? Now, we have the Queen of Cups, a big accent on the here and now on women, and you will see that at the Democratic Party National Convention. You will hear the resounding theme of women and their freedom, and the men that support women as well. So many varied groups. When I get to the astrology, you'll see that Republicans for Harris, evangelicals for Harris, so many groups you wouldn't be thinking about. This is about Pluto in Aquarius, bringing back the power to the people. Page of Cups, now a surprise here in the atmosphere around. So we're going to get a surprise in some way. And we've got Uranus in the mix as well there when I get to the astrology. So you will see there will be some surprises there. I'm honing in on the protests, but let's keep going. The Ten of Wands in the hopes and fears. Yeah, it's a huge challenge, and there's no room for complacency. Now we have the King of Pentacles in the outcome, business people. That is also Trump. That's my card for Trump. And then we have the Seven of Swords, deceit, theft. And then we have the High Priestess. Okay, so it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, okay, so at the Democratic Party National Convention, it's all about beating Trump, beating Project 25, beating the election interference, the denialism, the corruption at the certification level. A lot is riding on this. And then we have the Magician, manifestation, and the Empress card. Okay, so it could be with Mercury retrograde there, you could even see some kind of electronic outage or some kind of cyber attack, something like that. This is all about beating Trump. This is all about new starts. Yeah. Yeah. Look at this. Yep. So it is about the old giving way to the new and moving out of that troubled waters, that feeling of loss. And you see that the momentum coming that way. Many are tired of living in fear as to what comes next. And so what I see with this spread is a lot of the themes are coming forward that we already know, that we're already seeing. Will it be a success? Yes, it will. Yes, it will be a success for all the reasons that we currently know. Are there risks there? Are there any cause for anxiety about the actual convention? Well, when we get to the astrology, we'll hone in on them, but I think it's more from protesters disrupting the convention. maybe buying tickets, maybe disrupting in that way, possibly those that have been put up to it by the MAGA, Trump and the MAGAs. Will they prevail? No. It's just a forward momentum there. I think that will continue. Okay, what can we expect from these protesters? Well, first of all, how will the Democratic Party, Harris and Walsh, handle any disruptions, any sabotaging, anything at all? How will they handle that at the convention? Because Harris is so wily and so astute. Well, the moon, volatility with great control. And there you have it. So remember that when you're thinking about the protesters, she is able to handle that with a plume. Two of Wands, something coming to fruition in time. We have an inevitability, and then we have stability. Look at all these queens. Look at all these queens. So, yeah, they will disrupt. There might even be something planned, but it's going to be okay. She will handle it with control. They will control that aspect. Now, first of all, people have a right to protest. Absolutely. Absolutely. Peacefully protest. Considerate of others when they do protest, not drowning someone out with protests and destroying something. No. Get your point. You get your point across when you are there holding your signs up and protesting in a peaceful way. This is the risk that I see with the convention. Okay, let's take a look at the chart before we go on to other subjects. And I've done a fairly it won't be long and it won't be boring, I hope. But I've taken a good drill down on this chart. Let's share it and see what we can see. Okie dokie. All righty. Okay, I hope your view is okay. I'm just crossing my fingers. I did something different with the view, so hopefully you can see it here and all is well. Okay, in this chart that I've got, it's 19th of August at 5:30. The convention starts at 5:30 and it's in Chicago, Illinois. In this particular chart that I am referencing, we see two T squares. Okay, now the T squares in astrology, they are representing not just this chart, but the current situation that we find ourselves in. They represent huge, huge challenges, but they create the catalyst for huge, huge success and change. If the choices are good, if the strategy is good, if the momentum can be maintained, if you pull it off, there's a chance of huge success. And this is what this chart is saying. The DNC Convention, we go down to the moon here, is the moon in Aquarius, full moon in Aquarius, is actually being held at the time of this blue moon, and it is the only blue moon in 2024. And that's ironic. It's almost like an astrologer said, blue wave, blue moon, Aquarius, the future, hold your DNC convention on August the 19th. So full moons, what's this full moon in Aquarius telling us? Full moons are generally about culminations, and in the sign of Aquarius, we see not an ending but the future, because Aquarius is forward thinking. It's innovative and it's about ideas, but it's also about people power, the collective, people taking their power back. Is any of this resonating for you right now? Because you can see it, I can see it, and Donald Trump can see it too. So in this chart, let's drill down to what are the challenges here. The full moon here in Aquarius is making an opposition to the sun and Mercury in Leo, and also the vertex of this chart, which is the point of destiny and fate. So the sun and Mercury are conjunct. and within a 10-degree orb, the vertex is conjunct there as well. Leo is the sign of self-expression and confidence, but Mercury is retrograde here, remember. And so there could be issues, could indicate issues with technology. But however, this speaks to me, this Sun and Mercury in Leo, so close to one another. Leo being expression and self-confidence. It speaks to me of authenticity, this Mercury Mercury retrograde. So Harrison Walls staying with the future orientation and not reverting back to past patterns, past mistakes, past, I guess, negativity that has been so obvious and so evident across the globe in the last 8 to 10 years, which, to me is seeing it's dying, it's in its last gasps. I think Harrison Walsh are aware of the need to bring in the new and to bring, most importantly, the people with them. And Harris is doing, well, Walsh is doing that in his own way, but Harris is doing that through policies that take people forward, that directly address the conditions of our time, housing, the cost of living, jobs, protections, consumer protections, financial protections. So we also have Saturn in Pisces is squaring this Mars and Jupiter in Gemini. This fundamentally underscores again the need to keep driving forward because Saturn is Father Time, and Saturn is asking us. Well, Saturn in Pisces. This is about what is coming into form in Pisces. What are we bringing into form? And so squaring Jupiter and Mars represents the momentum. Jupiter is the great benefic. It's about expansion. Mars in Gemini, ideas, driving ideas, innovation, thought, concepts, newness, driving that forward in Gemini, communications, driving that forward. But Saturn is there and is asking us, what are you actually bringing into form? Is it more of the same, or is it authentic? And is this real change, or is this just verbiage? So the challenge for me in this chart, or for Harrison Walsh, for the Democratic Party convention, is to continue the momentum with substance and a plan that brings everyone along. So how Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, and her running partner Tim Walsh and the Democratic Party generally deal with the protests is very important. Now, I know that VP Harris has already met with them, and I think is with President Biden's push now to get that ceasefire deal done right now, the hostages home, ceasefire in Gaza, and then rebuilding Gaza, and then further pushing toward a two-state solution. How that is handled now is critical. All right, let's see where we go from here. Jupiter, Mars, let's see. Jupiter and Mars is squaring Venus. Now, Venus is attraction and relationships, and so bringing forward concrete policies for people, not just for Democratic voters, is going to be really key here. And again, Harris has done a good job of attracting people to her. Disparate groups that you wouldn't really think would be on board with her are coming on board. And of course, you hear a lot being made from Trump about her picture on the cover of Times, and how she's attractive, but she's been made up to look attractive. In other words, he's questioning her authenticity here. And so, you know, these are subtle messages. I don't think he's got a hope in hell trying to question her authenticity, but she needs to be on the front foot at the convention nevertheless. The where am I going here? The Sun and Mercury, yeah, this is important, is squaring our old friend Uranus and Algol off with their head. But also, and again, this could be the protesters trying to disrupt her while she's talking, or him or speakers while they're talking. However, I think this is actually a reasonably positive thing. Uranus is about change, and rapid change at that. And America is changing, and it is a time to harness that change and be bold with Sun in Leo. Be bold and step forward, but it's not without risk. And I think that Mercury retrograde is telling us that. Be aware of the High Priestess in that reading. Be aware of what could be the disruptor, and handle that and plan for that. But also balance is key here. I do want to come forward before I finish with this chart and mention Pluto in Aquarius in the first house here. And Pluto is at 0 degrees, a very potent position. And in this chart, in the first house, speaks to me of new beginnings. It's about what comes not just after 2024, but what comes over the next couple of decades, a new beginning. It's trining Uranus and Algol, which kind of says to me that any disruptor, any unforeseen will be handled by the masses. Okay, so this is about the majority. This is about people power. And I think also it means the energy flow is for change and going forward rather than going backwards. Saturn is also making, this is quite interesting, Saturn is also making a trine to Fortuna here in Cancer. Cancer is all about our feelings and the vibe, the feeling here. This is the time. And because it's in the 7th house at this convention, this is a time for relationship building and partnerships. And all those groups we'll hear from at the convention. I don't know their program, haven't looked at it, but I'm sure we'll hear from Republicans for Harris and other groups as well. So let's just basically, to sum up that chart, the chart reflects what we already know to be occurring in politics in this moment in time. And that is a huge groundswell of support for change, for forward thinking, for not going back to the past. And then that's the key slogan, is it? We're not going back. It's also a chart where we see the challenges of bringing together such a polarized electorate, and for overcoming those huge challenges that that chart speaks of. And some of those challenges are, it's a new ticket. There is not a long time till the election. This is rapid change. The GOP's gerrymandering and possible election interference and everything that Trump represents, we should never underestimate or get ahead of ourselves. Harris-Walsh is the ticket that can do it. There's so much in this chart and in the readings that I've been doing that speaks to me of the Hierophant again. Who are you going to put your trust in? A higher, the universal power. I keep saying the universe has the last say. But at the same time, with the energies that are representing huge challenges, it does need a collective effort. It needs the people to really drive this forward. There's no room for complacency. And this is again represented in, and again, I see Kamala Harris and Walsh as being very, very clever with their slogans. When we fight, we win. And you keep hearing Walsh, Governor Walsh saying, you know, this is a time we'll work round the clock. We'll work all night. This is a time for hard work. We can sleep later on. And so I think everybody knows what's at stake. Now, some uncanny facts when you've heard that astrology reading. Harris has her Saturn in Aquarius. Remember, Saturn, father time, hard work, challenge, coming up against it. It's in Aquarius. Aquarius, we're moving from Pluto in Capricorn into Aquarius. And so that's, to me, a very good omen there. Her Jupiter in her natal chart trines her Pluto. Now, remember, Jupiter and Mars in the mix here. It trines her Pluto, her Uranus, and Venus. She also has her Mars in Leo. Again, the Sun and Mercury retrograde are in Leo, as well as that vertex in that chart there, which is a point of destiny. I believe that she is made for this time. And if I didn't know better, I think the DNC chart accurately represents what's occurring in a sort of a fairly uncanny way, as astrology does, and that's what attracts me to astrology. And also at a time of a full blue moon. Endings and beginnings, momentum, the future, taking back power for the people. That's what I see at this time, not just in that chart, but in my readings, in my intuition, and in my spirituality. But there are challenges to overcome and hard work to be done. All right, let's look at the Middle East ceasefire deal. Also, I want to point out, I'm well aware that the Vice President presides over the election certification. However, the new Speaker of the House, when the new House is seated on January the 3rd and certification on January the 6th. How could we forget that date? The new House Speaker presides over any objections that are held in the House at the time. And there's a process where the two houses then come back together and vote on those objections. And that overarching process is overseen by the Vice President, Kamala Harris. So she'll be overseeing her own certification if she wins, which I think she will. I mean, that's the vibe and feeling that I get right now. But a new House Speaker, not the old House Speaker, very important, Mike Johnson, unless the Republicans retain the House and unless he's still the Speaker at that time, it's not the old House that will be hearing those objections to certification. It's a new House and a new House Speaker. All right, so very, very important, very important. I'm sort of led to believe that to pull off a stop the steal again, with Harris and Walz surging so far ahead, and that's the thing, will be difficult for Trump to do. Okay, so let's have a look at the Middle East. The deal currently, it's almost like a transition deal now. President Biden says there's a high degree of, he thinks that there's a shot at doing this. Let's see. I got good cards last time. Will there be a ceasefire deal? Will there be a hostages home and a ceasefire deal in Gaza, in the Middle East? Will there be a ceasefire hostages home deal in the Middle East at this time, in the near future, in the current round of negotiations? Will there be a ceasefire hostage home deal? Eight of Cups, loss, walking away, and anxiety. That's the fear. We're going to go down the same path again. Not a high level of confidence. Three of Swords, heartbreak. Don't judge from these foundational cards. That's very much reflecting the situation. Two of Swords, crossroads, and very important decisions to be made. There's a lot riding on this. Death is crowning this reading. Let's get real about this. Death is crowning this reading. We have the Ten of Pentacles. Now now we're getting to it. I had an intuitive feeling there's going to be money involved here. Some of this, not a lot, but okay, a lot of this negotiation is about money leverage in whatever way that might be. Whatever way that might be. The Ten of Wands is a huge Herculean task at this time. But there we have it. And there we have it. Very realistic spread. The atmosphere around is for new starts. The Five of Wands, tug of war, division, my agenda versus your agenda. That's in the hopes and fears. Woo! The Wheel of Fortune is the outcome. The Wheel of Fortune, how do you turn? You turn for the past, going back to the past, and you turn for planning and strategy. They're all yes cards. And moderation. You turn for moderation. My goodness me. Thank goodness. Thank God for that. Look at these cards. That death card is, there's been enough death and suffering. At this point, I'm going to say with the Wheel of Fortune in the outcome, the past situation, our higher selves, going back to the past, going back to pre-war, planning and strategizing, and Temperance card, two major arcanas here. I'm going to go against everything that I logically know and say this time, there's a huge chance, a good chance of a ceasefire hostage home deal. Okay, now Ukrainians in Russia. I've never seen anything like it. Did you realize that Russian territory hasn't been invaded by anybody since 1941? And Ukrainians have taken huge slice of the Kursk region. It's incredible, incredible. Thousands of Russian troops have surrendered. It's a terrible thing what Putin did. A terrible thing. Terrible, terrible thing. Going into Ukraine. The tens, hundreds, is it? Maybe thousands of deaths or tens of thousands of deaths. I'll look the number up and maybe put it in the pinned comment. I think children, tens of thousands of Ukrainian children taken, the bloodshed, the suffering, the maiming, Russia has a place for soldiers who refuse to fight or try and run away. It's like a gulag where they're tortured and are killed, and horrendous things happen there. It's a bloody reign of Vladimir Putin's. All right, so does Ukraine's incursion into the Kursk region, will this jeopardize Putin's presidency? Will Ukraine's bold step in taking the Kursk region, will this jeopardize Vladimir Putin's presidency? I'm seeing the Four of Swords, a lot of swords hanging over him. So we have the Five of Pentacles. Okay, so this could be the citizens themselves, the community. This is loss of money, being locked out, left out in the cold, and the Hanged Man. Okay, so this is Russians themselves looking at things in a different way. Oh, now they've got our territory. Now our people are displaced. Now our buildings are being damaged. Now our troops are being taken. Now, it's like completely turning Russia's views upside down. Now, the Page of Cups, we have a surprise here that maybe nobody's expecting. The Ace of Swords, clarity is in the past. Clarity and the truth are in the past. Now we have the Eight of Swords. It certainly is paranoia. It's certainly worrying for Putin at this time. It's like his thoughts are, and maybe this is what takes him so long to act, he kind of identifies all his enemies and then he comes forward with a plan. It's I don't know. Will his plan work? The Ace of Wands, a new start. I asked, will this jeopardize? There's a plan here. So there's a plan. Someone's got a plan in mind to get rid of him. The Knight of Swords. So we see rapid mobilization here and bold steps. That's Ukraine, I think. That's what we're seeing. The boldness of it all is what's causing Russians to take notice. Hopes and fears that he will mobilize, huge numbers and come back and try and take that territory. But it's opened up another front. It's been very, very strategic by Ukraine. Five of Wands is the outcome. Will it destabilize him? It certainly has, and it certainly will cause various factions to pull against one another. That, of course, is what's highlighted Russian history, and that's what's caused the downfall of previous leaders. It's the factionalism. Eight of Wands. Now we've got a huge news, can be rapid news coming through, and then we have new starts and somebody waiting for their ship to come in. Base of the pack, weighing up the options. Queen of Swords, again the plan, endings and beginnings. Okay, so will it destabilize? I'm not convinced that it will, but in the long term, it's hardened the factions here, and hastened a end to the war. And that's what I originally got, an end to the invasion. Is this correct? Are we going to see them come to the table and Ukraine will be in a better bargaining deal? We'll give you back your territory, you get out of ours. Will this be a better deal for Ukraine as a result? Nine of Swords, anxiety, and the King of Pentacles, and the Seven of Swords, lies and deceit. I don't think they can trust anybody. I don't think they can trust Putin at this time. We've got unity and the moon, the volatility of it all. And we've got judgment, something that's inevitable. What is inevitable? We've got something coming to fruition in time, and we get hope and we get justice. So my question, what's hiding behind justice there? Temperance. Okay, that's good. They're good cards, three major arcana. And there we have strategy and planning. So what I think might happen is Putin's going to answer back in a fairly hard and lethal way, obviously. This has created huge factions in Russia pulling against one another. It's not, there's an agreement, and that might hasten Putin to the table, because we know what happens in the past to Russian leaders when you get the tribes in Russia fighting against, when there's no cohesion there. This will help Zelensky and his team at the negotiating table. Absolutely. All right, that's it for now. Thanks for joining me. There's a lot of ground we've covered, but I hope that you've stayed with me, and I'll come back again. If I don't read on Thursday, which is your Wednesday, it's because I'm actually going to be doing pre-recording tarot scopes for September to try and bring those back for you. But I'll see. If there's a major activity, I'll jump on quickly. We'll just see how I go. Thanks for tuning in, and bye for now.